Hi guys, this is my final thoughts video on Dishonored Death of the Outsider. I have just finished playing the game. This is not a comprehensive review, it's just my initial thoughts after I finished. And the short version is, if you're a fan of Dishonored and Dishonored 2, you are going to want to play this. It is more of the same, it does wrap some things up. It is fun, it adds some new abilities, and you're really going to need to play this, but it's not quite as good as Dishonored or Dishonored 2 in my opinion, and I will cover that in a few minutes. But first of all, I do want to talk about what made this actually a lot of fun, and that is the powers. This game brings 3 new powers. One of them is Displace, and it's kind of a new take on the Displace theme, and I did like it. I thought it was pretty well done, but it's the way it merged with Void Vision that I thought was really clever. Void Vision is kind of like Dark Vision in the first 2 games, but it's a little different. It's a little more tactical and a little less omnipresent and in your face. And what I mean by that is, in the original Dishonored and Dishonored 2, I did not like Dark Vision because A, it did trivialise the stealth side of things a lot, but it also robbed the game of some of its aesthetic, because honestly it was too easy to just keep tapping that power over and over and over and keep it up pretty much permanently, so you played the entire game with that vision mode on, and it did rob it of some of the feeling. With Dishonored Death of the Outsider, Void Vision's a little more strategic almost. You send the eye forward to scan ahead, which is actually a lot more powerful. You can then mark certain people if you find them, and then you can track them. But that's a little less powerful, because it means if you don't spot someone and you don't mark them, or you mark too many things and you lose someone, you still run the chance of running into them. It is overpowered though, don't get me wrong, it's in many ways way more overpowered than the original. There's no need whatsoever in Death of the Outsider to lean. None. There's no reason to lean at all. You just don't need to do it. You just send the vision forward, you mark things, you find everything you need, and you can also do some very, very cool things with it. You can mark a displace point whilst you're in that vision. You can go through small gaps, rat tunnels, put a displace marker, and then jump to the displace marker through some bars or a grate. Really well integrated. I did love the synergy between those 2 powers. Now, you don't get the choice to not take the powers, and a lot of that's down to the way the story works, and you don't ever get to upgrade the powers, which is a little disappointing, I suppose, but again, it does make sense. If you were hoping to do a no powers run, I suppose you could, but there are a few things you should note. One, the game definitely feels like it was balanced for power use this time. There were several places where I only got there using the vision power and the displace power. I have a feeling there are certain places, certain areas, probably not the main things, but some of the side missions, some of the things like robbing the black market, you may not be able to do if you don't use the powers. The second thing you should note is that it will feel odd not using the powers. It's not like you can just sort of pretend you didn't take the powers from the Outsider. It's not like you can, choose that in game. No, you've got a great big eye thing and a void hand, and it's very difficult to lose the magical feel. So it's not quite the same as it was in Dishonored and Dishonored 2. So you're probably going to want to use those, and as I've said, they're actually kind of fun. The face stealing power is really nice. I really do like the way they've done the power set for Billy Lurk. The gameplay in Death of the Outsider is, as you would expect, it's very similar to Dishonored 2. However, I did feel a little more constrained than in the previous games. I did feel the maps were designed a little less efficiently effectively to give you multiple options. I did get a feeling that in certain places I should stealth, the bank for example, and in some places I should just, murder a lot of people. It felt like there were certain contracts that would have been really hard to do any other way than to just go in there and take everybody out. The kidnapping the bartender is an example. I'm absolutely sure somebody has come up with some way of kidnapping him without taking out the rest of the bar patrons. The real stealthy run where you don't get spotted by anyone and you just do your objectives. But honestly, I could not figure it out. I was hoping there was some way I could get him to go off somewhere, but there didn't seem to be that kind of flexibility in this game. So a lot of that comes down to quest design and map design, and it didn't feel as well done as in Dishonored 2. And there were also no maps like Jindosh's mansion or the Stilton mansion. There was nothing like that really stood out as incredible map designs, incredible gameplay shifts that just blew my mind. It was a little generic Dishonored gameplay in a sort of what felt like restricted manner. And I also have to say, the story wasn't its strongest point either. It wasn't actually a bad story. It was a good concept, but I felt it was a little ham-fisted in the way it was introduced to you. I never really felt much emotional connection to the story. I emotionally connected with the characters, even the outsider, but I never really totally understood Dowd's motivations for what he was doing and why I would really care too much. It was kind of like, I was doing it mostly because that was what I was going to do. It was something to do, and it felt a little contrived. Now, I'm sure you could look at it a little differently, but when you compare it to, say, Dishonored, the love of your life has been murdered and you've been framed for the crime and your daughter's been kidnapped. It's pretty damn simple. It's pretty open and closed. It's an easy motivation to grab. Yeah, you want revenge, you want to rescue your daughter, you want to clear your name, and there's no real ambiguity. Same with Dishonored 2. You want to regain your kingdom. But in this one, it was a little like, I don't know, it felt almost like a side mission. I was just doing it for the sake of doing it, not for a reward, but because it was there. And it's not because the concept was bad. I think it was a really, really good concept. But I think they should have possibly introduced something a little more urgent, perhaps. Some reason why Dowd feared the outsider and needed to be free of him, kind of thing. And I mean, here's the thing. That actually might be the case. That might actually be something that is true. Dowd is now better off. He has found peace for eternity, as has the outsider in one way or the other. But it never really got that across to me in the game. So, overall, not its strongest point. So, I will say, though, you should buy it if you're a Dishonored fan. I did enjoy it, just not quite the same way as I enjoyed the previous ones.